The worst day of my career didn't begin with losing my job. It began with a single text message that simply read, "Don't leave. I need someone to stay." 30 minutes later, I found myself sitting inside an almost empty downtown hotel bar beside my CEO's wife while a violent summer storm trapped everyone inside. By sunrise, everything I believed about success, marriage, loyalty, and forgiveness had changed forever. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe kindness still has the power to change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to A Journey of Hearts. Your support helps us continue bringing heartfelt stories that remind us humanity still exists. My name is Nolan Mercer, and until that unforgettable Thursday, I believed life rewarded people who worked harder than everyone else. At 33, I was the youngest regional operations manager at one of the fastest-growing logistics companies in the state. Every morning started before sunrise. Every evening ended long after the city lights reflected against my apartment windows. Promotions, awards, bonuses, and endless praise from executives had become my identity. I convinced myself sacrifice was temporary, but years quietly disappeared while I chased titles instead of memories. Our CEO, Sterling Hawthorne, was the definition of corporate perfection. Every speech inspired employees. Every business magazine wanted his picture on the cover. Investors admired his confidence. Staff feared disappointing him. He carried himself like someone who had never experienced failure. His wife, however, remained almost invisible. Her name was Corinne Hawthorne. Most employees only recognized her from annual charity events where she smiled politely before disappearing long before the celebrations ended. She never sought attention, never interrupted conversations, and somehow always seemed lonely despite standing beside one of the most successful men in the city. That Thursday our company finalized the largest acquisition in its history. Executives celebrated upstairs in the hotel's grand ballroom while managers like me handled endless paperwork below. By evening everyone looked exhausted. Sterling received an urgent phone call and left abruptly, instructing everyone to continue celebrating without him. Nobody questioned it. CEOs always had emergencies. I finally closed my laptop close to 9 that night. Rain pounded against the massive windows overlooking downtown. Lightning illuminated the skyline every few seconds. The hotel announced roads had flooded and advised guests to remain inside until emergency crews cleared several intersections. The only quiet place left was the lobby bar. I ordered coffee instead of alcohol because I still planned on driving home once the weather improved. That's when I noticed Corinne sitting alone near the corner window. She wasn't drinking expensive wine like everyone assumed wealthy people did. She slowly stirred untouched chamomile tea while staring at the rain as though searching for someone who would never arrive. I considered leaving immediately. Employees didn't casually socialize with the CEO's spouse. Then my phone vibrated. It was from Sterling. "Don't leave. Corinne shouldn't be alone tonight. I'll explain tomorrow." That was all. No explanation. No context. Just a request from the most powerful person in the company. So I stayed. The silence between us lasted several minutes before she finally smiled without looking at me. It wasn't the polished smile photographers captured during charity galas. It was tired, fragile, almost grateful that another human being occupied the room. The bartender quietly closed one side of the lounge because of the storm, leaving only a handful of stranded guests scattered throughout the room. Soft piano music floated through hidden speakers while rain battered the glass walls. Corinne eventually spoke about ordinary things. She asked whether I had family nearby. Whether I enjoyed my work. Whether I ever regretted choosing ambition over everything else. Those questions sounded strangely personal. I answered honestly. My father had died while I was building my career. I missed his final birthday because of an overseas conference. My younger sister barely called anymore because I constantly postponed family dinners. Relationships slowly faded whenever promotions became available. She listened without interrupting. Then she shared something unexpected. She admitted wealth had never interested her. Before marrying Sterling, she taught art classes to children recovering from trauma. She loved paint-covered classrooms, messy hands, laughter, and imperfect masterpieces. Marriage slowly replaced those mornings with board meetings, charity appearances, business dinners, and endless expectations. Success had provided comfort. It had quietly stolen purpose. For the first time in years, I looked beyond polished corporate appearances and realized loneliness could exist inside enormous homes just as easily as tiny apartments. Hours passed. The storm refused to end. Hotel staff served sandwiches because restaurants nearby had closed early. We laughed over stale bread and terrible coffee. Strange how the simplest meals sometimes become unforgettable. Around midnight the hotel's electricity briefly failed. Darkness swallowed the room. Emergency lights activated moments later, casting everything in soft golden shadows. Something about that dim light stripped away every mask people normally wear. Corinne quietly confessed that Sterling wasn't having a business emergency. He had forgotten their wedding anniversary. Again. Not because he stopped loving her. Because work always came first. She wasn't angry anymore. That frightened her most. She had become emotionally exhausted long before that evening. I didn't know what to say. Some pain cannot be solved with advice. Sometimes people simply need another person willing to listen without judgment. We spent the next several hours talking about ordinary memories. Childhood dreams. Favorite books. Parents who shaped us. Regrets nobody else knew. Dream vacations never taken. Little moments that somehow mattered more than million-dollar achievements. Before dawn she admitted something that stayed with me forever. People always assumed the loneliest person in a room was the one sitting alone. She believed the loneliest person was often surrounded by hundreds of people who never truly saw them. That sentence echoed inside my mind like distant thunder. As sunrise slowly colored the clouds pink and gold, the storm finally weakened. Roads reopened. Guests prepared to leave. Sterling walked into the hotel lobby looking exhausted. His expensive suit remained perfectly pressed. His face did not. For a brief second I feared everything looked inappropriate. Instead, something completely unexpected happened. Sterling looked directly at his wife. Then at me. He quietly thanked me. Not with the confident voice employees knew. With the trembling voice of a husband realizing he had almost lost something impossible to replace. He asked Corinne if they could have breakfast together before returning home. She didn't answer immediately. Instead she studied his face for several long seconds. Then she nodded. Hope sometimes returns quietly. Not through grand speeches. Not through dramatic promises. Simply through one sincere opportunity to begin again. The following Monday everyone expected another ordinary workweek. Instead Sterling called an emergency company-wide meeting. Hundreds of employees gathered inside headquarters wondering whether another acquisition had been announced. Sterling stood silently behind the podium longer than usual. Then he surprised everyone. He admitted the company had celebrated growth while many employees quietly sacrificed families, health, marriages, and happiness. He admitted he had become the worst example of balance. He publicly apologized. Not only to his wife, who sat in the front row, but to every employee whose personal life had suffered because leadership rewarded endless overtime instead of healthy living. The room remained silent. Executives never apologized. Especially not CEOs. Over the next several months extraordinary changes transformed the company. Mandatory vacation policies replaced endless overtime. Family leave expanded. Mental wellness programs appeared.